Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm Jim Goddard. John, welcome back.
Jim, I'm happy to be back on the show.
John, Zephyr Minerals announced the postponement of its El Plomo drill program. What's that all about?
This is a very unfortunate development. El Plomo is in Colorado, in the sort of eastern part of Colorado. The western part of Colorado is where all the wonderful mountains, lakes, and forests are, where tourists and everybody wants to go. But this is an area south of Denver where the mountains kind of end. But it's still somewhat mountainous, and in this particular area, it is bighorn sheep habitat, and they can only drill from July 1st through October 31st, because that's the season when they're not mating or bringing up their kids. So Zephyr Minerals has put together an amazing geological hypothesis that this little 3-kilometer segment has the potential to host one or two Cannington equivalent lead, zinc, silver deposits. I've modeled what a Cannington, the original 45 million ton version, would be worth. It would be worth $6.6 billion. And if you didn't have any further dilution in Zephyr Minerals and they hit this thing bang on and everybody can see, wow, this is like a stock that can go from 30 cents to $90. But what the market's also saying is this is a long shot. When you drill this target, you'll probably, even if there is the mineralization there, it's probably not high grade enough. So the market's saying long shot type play. The strange thing that happened was on June 5th, they filed their notice of intent, which is the last piece of paper needed. They've cleared all the BLM permitting requirements for a summer drill program. And this last piece of paper, it allows the Colorado Mine Land Reclamation Board to set a bond for any reclamation that might be required from cleaning up the drill pads when you are done. This is like very, very small footprint disturbance. But within the 5 days allowed, an NGO called Inform filed an appeal alleging all kinds of strange things that are really trivial. It's actually an abuse of process. It forces the MLRB to hear the appeal in a hearing, and this is the problem because since February they have had no hearings because of the COVID-19. The first one is scheduled in late June. The agenda deadline was June 5th. And what this anti-mining lobby group intended was for the appeal to be heard sometime in September when the whole backlog has been worked down. And by September, they look at this is frivolous, it's BS, you're just abusing the whole system, and they give the permit. But then it's late September and it's too late to do a drill program. So the concern we've had is that some sort of glitch happens which prevents a drilling program from happening this summer at El Plomo, which makes or breaks a well-worked-out hypothesis. If it's the real thing, it makes a big difference for Colorado. It would be an underground mine with a relatively small footprint. It would never disturb the bighorn sheep upstairs in the mountains above it because it would be accessed by a ramp from the flatlands to the north. So it's really a relatively benign type of scenario. And the idea of waiting until next summer to drill, well, the market would probably lose interest. There's a private placement of 10 million units done at 21 cents with a half one at 35 cents, which comes free trading. Now we're dealing with the stock pulling back because the market's thinking, oh boy, we're going to have to hold dead money for another year, so there's going to be pressure in the market as people clip the warrant and flip the stock, which is actually an excellent opportunity for those who have been on the sidelines watching this thing to come in here and take a position if they believe that they will get a permit. Now, the Colorado permitting people were really annoyed by this tactic, by this Inform outfit. They've been dealing with the Zephyr people for years on all the other Dawson Green Mountain area programs. This is not a case of a bunch of amateurs parachuting in from Canada into a new region and not knowing what the rules are and submitting stuff improperly. No, these guys have done it over and over again. This is a deliberate attempt to disrupt this summer planned exploration program simply because it doesn't cost them much at all to do. They can pat themselves on the back and say, we have, at least for a year, deferred the possibility that there might be a new mine in Colorado. But what the MLRB people did was they said, okay, we can't fit it into the June meeting. We'll slip it into the July 22nd, 23rd meeting. And so they basically said, this is such an important project. You are clearly abusing the system. You're making fools of us. This junior is complying with all the rules. So we're going to have this hearing. So it basically postpones the program by about 3-4 weeks. Now, of course, the anti-mining lobbyists are going to get excited about this. They're going to see that, wow, this is a potential high-stakes thing. Maybe we can raise more donations and that to keep our lifestyle going, pretending to be protecting the environment when in this case we're not really doing anything. We should just let this program go and come up with the likelier result that there's nothing there worth developing, and then the bighorn sheep can prance up on that mountain without any drill pads ever being built there again. So it's disappointing to have this happen. The market's going to be inclined, okay, if this can happen, what else is going to happen? They'll find some new way of blocking this. So this becomes now a speculation. Will they be able to drill this summer on this play? The hearing will be held in camera. It will be recorded to see. And Jennifer Thurston may find out that she becomes a poster child for abuse of the system. It makes you even think that the Trump base, which wants to eliminate all environmental regulations and undo all the parks that have been created, are her secret donors to have her go and do this kind of frivolous stuff to discredit the whole environmental movement, which does a lot of good stuff, getting areas preserved from development. But in this case, it is such a mean-spirited, frivolous attack on an area which is not particularly special from any sort of a tourist or aesthetic perspective or even a habitat perspective. This really makes the anti-mining lobby look cynical and quite nasty in the way they do their business.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, Azimut Exploration has been drilling for a couple of weeks at its Elmer gold play in Quebec, and the stock is holding up well. Have any juniors emerged with area play potential?
The Elmer project with its Patwan discovery, so far it's still a tiny footprint of a couple hundred meters in dimension, but it has a geological context that allows this to be potentially replicated over a 7-kilometer shear structure, and they have an IP survey showing that, yes, the IP chargeability high does correlate with the part we've drilled off and demonstrate it is a high-grade discovery, and these anomalies repeat themselves along the strike. And they were supposed to start drilling in mid-March, but the COVID-19 restrictions came in, and they were only allowed to start at the end of May. So they've been drilling now with 2 rigs for a couple of weeks. There are no rumors. The stock is punched up to 230.40 and is now sort of it bumbles between 210 and 20. So obviously there are no negative leaks in the system, or this stock would have sold off at this point. One has to consider that with all these health and safety protocols that are now in place, the risk of a leak coming via some driller or anybody like that is pretty low. So we really, at this point, do not know if Jean-Marc Rouland's team is hitting the ball out of the park or missing, and desperately marching the drill along to see if they can repeat the success at the Patwan prospect. And the whole area around it has been map staked, and we're not yet at the point where we can say there's something really big that creates potential for the entire region, similar to what we had hoped for last year with the Mithril copper discovery, more to the east, northeast of this area. But what they have so far is interesting enough that the type of on-trend proximity play is where speculators who missed the boat on Azimut and don't want the exposure to them delivering a bunch of disappointing results in about 4 to 6 weeks. The only company that has potential to have something similar is Dios Exploration, which already owned the ground to the west, what they call the K2 project. And they've been assembling it for a number of years. Dios Explorations was spun out in 2001 from Sirius Resources to hold the diamond claims they had assembled around the Ashton Rio Tinto Renard diamond discovery in the Odish Mountains of Quebec. And this company now has 100 million shares out, but it's never done a rollback during this period. It's headed by Marie-Josée Girard, a geologist who has been chasing stuff in the James Bay ever since. And this thing, they finally announced it in 2016 when they had enough claims that were being gradually dropped. The irony is they were watching this before Jean-Marc Rouland was probably watching it. The Elmer claim itself had been held by East Maine. Don Robinson had held it from way back in, known about it way back from the Westman days. That's why he was interested in this area. But he got booted out a number of years ago, and the new team really couldn't see the value of Elmer. And it was kind of ironic that even though Dios's team were watching for claims to come open, they missed the Elmer claims coming open, and those were grabbed by Azimut Exploration. The K2 claims to the southwest, they all wrap around the Cayley intrusion. And the intrusion itself is not where you're going to expect particularly much to be found, but it's in the structural preparation of the areas, the rocks around it, where it creates things like pressure shadows, and where if fluids have come up, there might be potential for these deposits to form. And in the Patwan case, it's a primarily gold-based system. There's been lots of drilling around it, which is polymetallic. It has copper, silver, lead, and gold in it. And to the south of the Cayley intrusion, there's also what they have, the Attila prospect, and this is part of the K2 project, where it has a similar smattering of copper, gold, and silver values. This area has never been drilled. Much of the property was held by a little junior called Ogiva, whose main focus was the Duncan Lake iron deposit somewhere in northern Quebec. This company ended up being reorganized and turned into an automotive finance company, and so these claims lapsed. But what emerged in the past year and a half was they reprocessed old VTEM mag electromagnetic data and are able to create a two-dimensional IP-type survey which highlights areas of potential disseminated mineralization as opposed to the EM-type conductors that the program was initially supposed to highlight, which typically represent massive sulfides. And what emerged to the northwest of the Attila area was something they called the WI target. It's mainly overburden covered, so there's no outcrop to test. They did send a crew over there, and they did find some boulders and that ran gold values. But this is on trend in the so-called pressure shadow of the Cayley intrusion, on trend from the Patwan prospect, similar geological context. They are now doing an IP survey just as Azimut did on the Patwan to show where exactly the disseminated sulfides are that are associated with the gold mineralization. So we're waiting to see what this produces. They're pretty sure there will be evidence for disseminated sulfides, but the survey will give greater granularity, perhaps even show how it separates into separate zones within this area. And this is also 2.5 to 3 kilometers long by 1 kilometer wide. So very similar type of target which Azimut is drilling at Patwan, and undrilled, nothing there on outcrop, on trend, similar geological context. So if we see a major discovery emerge from Patwan that confirms that this is something very, very, very significant, multi-million ounce, medium to high grade gold potential, the market's going to look along trend at Dios exploration, which used to trade at a nickel or so. It now trades around 10 cents. They raised $1 million recently with no warrants, very unusual that the people put up the money. So it has enough money to go in there and do a drill program this summer. So if you believe that Azimut's on the threshold of delivering a major discovery, and it has a $150 million valuation right now compared to, say, $10 million for Dios. Dios exploration is the area play bet that is the best one to make right now, given what we know about the Elmer project that Azimut's in the midst of drilling right now.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, are there any new Discovery Juniors we should be watching?
The one I would like to introduce is Central Timmins Exploration Corp. And don't let the name discourage you. This company went public in 2018. It had assembled a bunch of properties, many of them literally under the city limits of Timmins, but they never really did anything. The company was dead on arrival, faded away. But in January, it did a rollback, 6-for-1 rollback that tightened it back down to about 8 million shares, and then it did a 10 million share financing, no warrants, and it was done at I think it was a nickel or so. So that cleaned up debts and put about $300,000 into the company, and it was taken down by about five or six parties. 3 of them ended up disclosing as insiders. One of them, Joe Ofsenick, he joined the board. He's on the board now. Keith Peck showed up owning 2 million shares. He's not on the board. He usually doesn't join the board, though he did join the board of Camino. And Ken McNaughton showed up as another shareholder buying these 2 million shares at a nickel. So they've acquired a position in a company that now has only about 19 million shares fully diluted. And Joe used to be the CEO of Pretium Resources with the Bruce Jack project, and he was given a pink slip on April 26th. So now he's starting out away from the big institutional market, having to talk to fund managers and fighting with the board about what we're going to do next for a gold producing company. He's going back to the junior sector. Ken McNaughton's still working for Pretium as a geologist, helping them sort out the Valley of the Kings, but he's also ready to leave that when they no longer need him. And Central Timmins is the new vehicle by which they intend to develop new discovery exploration stories. And one that came to attention, and this is going to be our Discovery Watch project, is the Silver Reef property, which they just optioned on what I thought were pretty stiff terms. They can earn 70% by paying $750,000 cash, 1.2 million shares, and spending $2 million exploration over a 3-year period. Now, in the second and third year, these payments escalate, so the cost up front is not high, and then they can buy the rest of the 30% for $4 million cash and own this thing 100%. This project's in northern British Columbia. It's south of the main Golden Triangle area, but it's about 90 kilometers north of Hazelton. And Hazelton is known for the old Silver Standard mine, which is a high-grade silver, gold, zinc-lead vein system on the edge of the Bowser Basin, type of an epithermal system. It operated up to about the early 60s as a high-grade underground mine. And Ken and Joe think that what's been discovered here at Silver Reef is something similar. And the way it was discovered is a helicopter pilot apparently flying over this area observed a goss, and then of course what helicopter pilots love to do is get a team together and go out there and prospect this. And they were able to discover that, hey, there are veins here. It's not a lot of outcrop in this particular area, but the prospecting group did enough work to establish that there's about 2 kilometers of trend here. The geophysics now show that there's a potential 8 kilometers of trend, but the target that Ken and Joe have sort of visualized for themselves is a 100-meter wide system. Depth, could be 600-800 meters. It's some sort of epithermal system, but not the kind like the low sulfidation sort, which has a vertical constraint, such as West Haven has at the Spencis Bridge Belt, Gold Belt Shovel Nose project. This, they think, is more like the Silver Standard story, except there's a stockwork that's also surrounding the high-grade veins. And the idea is to go in there and put some drill holes across it to understand the geological context, see how the mineralization behaves within this structure, and then start stepping out and seeing if they have a major new discovery on their hands. And the stock's quite illiquid. It trades 20, 30 cents on its post-rollback basis. They will have to do another financing. Joe has another company that he's involved with. We talked about that a few weeks ago, Austin Gold, which is going to be more a Nevada-focused company. It farmed into the Kelly Creek Basin project of Nevada Exploration, Inc. They're still busy cleaning up the agreement and getting that all done. But the Silver Reef project of Central Timmins, which is probably going to change its name to something less localized like that. They hope to be able to be in there by mid-July. They've got permits for a drill program, and this could end up being a significant new discovery in an area that, for whatever reason, has never really had much exploration in the past.
John, thank you so much for the update.
You're welcome, Jim.
We've been speaking with John Kaiser, his website, KaiserResearch.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on Discovery Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at HowStreet.com. Discovery Watch is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.